That's right. Back at it again. Full custom hot dog here doing another Blu-ray review. And today we are talking about 1985's Making Contact. Also known as Joey if you are from Germany, which I was at one point. Fun little trivia about your favorite hot dog here. This is directed by Roland Emmerich and stars Joshua Morell, Eva Krill, Tammy Shields. Now, I looked up some of them on IMDb, and so far, really, Eva Krill's the only one who's done a lot more work, but that's only German films, and my German's very rusty, borderline non-existent, so I don't really want to tumble through a lot of names that you may not have heard of unless you're from Germany. So, that's that. And this is a release from Kino-Lorber. It is just like a standard HD encode or transfer, whatever, nothing crazy, no 2K, 4K. If you're not familiar with Kino has a really cool library of stuff. I know I say this a lot because, you know, with all these different companies, all of them kind of have a different vibe to them, and Kino is no exception. Kino has some of the Empire Pictures stuff, which is kind of pre-Full Moon. If you're not familiar with Full Moon, that's like Puppet Master, that kind of stuff. And then Empire was the company before Full Moon that had Charles Band, and then I think his father also did some stuff for it as well. So they had a bunch of goofball horror stuff. So Kino has put out some of that, and they kind of put out this like weird mid-tier of like big budget B horror stuff and goofball sci-fi stuff. So very hard label to describe. They also put out some other cool stuff. They put out The Party, that Peter Sellers classic. They've put out Life Stinks, one of the later Mel Brooks films, which I enjoyed, but some people didn't. So the only problem with Kino stuff is a lot of their releases are bare bones, unless they're not. Every once in a while, they will put out special editions. They just put out a recent special edition of Rawhead Rex, which they went pretty hard in the paint on. That thing's packed, and I believe that's a 2K or 4K transfer, so that looks good. Unfortunately, with Making Contact, it's bare bones. You get a couple trailers. My only issue here is that you do not get the original cut of this film, which is called Joey, like I mentioned earlier. Joey had an additional 20 minutes. Granted, it doesn't add too much to the film, which I'm going to get to in a bit. Trust me, there's a lot to take in with this movie. It doesn't have that on the disc. Anchor Bay, I think, did a release of this on DVD. Must have been early 2000s, maybe 2000-ish, and that had that cut. I had that disc. It got stolen, so I don't know if I've ever even seen the Joey cut. I believe you can import it, though. That's a whole other thing. So, unfortunately, Kino was not able to get Joey onto this, which is just kind of a shame. That would have made it more worth the price. But this was an insta-buy for me, which I'll get to in a bit. So as far as the release goes, it's a fine release. It's okay. Obviously, it's going to be the only one you're going to get unless you're going to import. And even then, that probably won't have the Making Contact version. So if you're a completist, you kind of have to own both. So as far as, like I said, solid release. It's fine. It's fine, okay? Let's talk about the movie, though. Because this is a very interesting movie, and this is a movie that holds a very weird little place in my heart because I remember seeing it as a child, and then I picked it up later. I think I watched it a few times as a kid, and the first time I cried because let's start with the plot. This is going to be a lot of rambling, and this may be incoherent, but that's not my fault. That's Roland Emmerich's fault. And if you're not familiar with Roland Emmerich, this may be his first big blockbuster movie. Roland Emmerich did Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day, 10,000 BC, a lot of stuff that is just ridiculous and over the top, and this movie is no exception. This is kind of a really good origin story for Roland Emmerich, really. So it's about a boy whose father dies, and his toy telephone rings, and it's his dad, and he talks to his dad, but then he also gets psychic powers, and some of his toys gain sentience. And then there's this ventriloquist dummy who is owned by a warlock, but then by the end of it, the warlock was the good guy, but the dummy says he's not, and they're just contradicting each other like the two doors in Labyrinth. And then it may not have been his dad on the phone the whole time. And then Joey, the titular character, saves the bullies from the house, this mansion that may be underground, and Joey goes to heaven at the end. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, and this movie is an absolute, it's a stew, it's a mulligan stew, where Roland Emmerich must have put everything in and just went nuts. Now, this is a German film, like I said, but it was a German film engineered with a task. This had a $1.5 million budget, and Roland Emmerich was somehow able to get some people together and go, hey, let's make a blockbuster for America. So they went to the local army base and got a bunch of American kids, and they had them star in this movie. So most of it's shot in Germany, and it's weird because you wouldn't know, but one of the dead giveaways for me is there's a bit where a cop pulls out like a barricade, and I'm like, that's not an American barricade, because it kind of comes out. I don't know, you'll see it. It opens up, and then it becomes a barricade. That's not American engineering. That's absolutely German engineering. You'll see it scissors out like a jack, like a scissor jack. So yeah, that's a dead giveaway. Any of the scenes that you see that are not shot in Germany are shot in America using some random kid they have from one of Emmerich's family businesses or something, and those are all shot in Virginia Beach. This movie is bizarre, and I know I keep saying that. So you get, I don't even know where to begin. This kid randomly gets powers. His robot toy comes alive. This dummy wants to kill people, maybe, and he threatens to kill his mom, and then psychically throws knives at his mom. And then, okay, let me break from that for a second, because one of Emmerich's goals too with this was to absolutely ape the shit out of Steven Spielberg. So this movie looks like maybe like Spielberg's cousin or something. There's that whole mist thing that he does, like, think of E.T. but dumb, and that's this movie. There's also a shitty rip-off looking E.T. monster, if you're paying attention, in a trash can with a horn, obviously, so you don't get sued. You also get a guest appearance from Darth Vader. You get a giant cheeseburger. The plot, I've even read other people's synopsis, because I couldn't imagine it was just me, and it's not. I watched it with friends. We all kind of went, what the hell was that movie about? And I've seen this like 5 or 6 times. I want to do a bigger video about this, maybe trying to break it down and overanalyzing it, because I really, for some reason, this movie hits a part of me in my childhood, maybe, because like I said, I saw it when I was a kid. This also ticks off some boxes for me. You've got a killer dummy. You've got an adorable robot pal. Those are 2 things I've always wanted in my life growing up, and they're both here in this movie. And also the kid gets psychic powers, so there's a lot of cool stuff here. Nobody seems thrown off by his powers. And then the government comes in, and they're just running tests on him, and that's the E.T. part, is you get the government in, and then all these wild kids, and it's bizarre. Should you see this movie? Yes, especially if you're an 80s kid. If you're an 80s kid, this movie is pumped to the gills with nostalgia, and you may see some of your favorite toys in it. Joey's room is full of 80s stuff. You will see Star Wars, everything. Like I said, there's a Darth Vader appearance. Darth Vader's helmet is used quite a bit in this movie. There's a picture in the slideshow of the AT Walker, and you get A-Team, anything from the 80s. That is Joey's room, and it's weird, man. So it's interesting to see where Roland Emmerich came from. I know this is super scatterbrained, but this movie is scatterbrained. This movie will F you up for at least a day. It is a bizarre experience. The dummy is threatening, and it's after this. Roland Emmerich did a movie called Ghost Chasers, I think it was. Ghost Chase. And he used a similar dummy that looks similar, so I don't know if Emmerich is designing these or he is making someone make these. I haven't seen Ghost Chase yet, but it's high on my list. I think that's actually an Empire film. So if that gets a Blu-ray release, I'll blind buy that, and then you'll see that on this channel. I know I'm rambling. I know it sounds incoherent, but that's what this movie is. I promise you. I'm not making this up. This is one of the weirdest things you'll ever see, and especially coming from such a big director. This has anything you've ever thought to have in a movie. I think there's even a zombie in it, and you get warlocks and magicians. You get heaven. You get a spooky mansion. Actually, the mansion used in this movie was used in Psycho, I believe, so that's kind of cool too. But yeah, and apparently the Joey cut doesn't fix anything that I talked about. It just makes it longer, which is kind of impressive. So again, let's end it with this. Blu-ray release is fine. It's probably the best you'll get for Making Contact, unless they do it again and release the other cut. So it's fine. I would give it like a middle of the road. Kino does decent. Kino does fine. I don't want to say decent. Sounds like an insult. I don't think fine's an insult. The movie, if you're an 80s kid, you should watch it. You should watch it and be confused. What is this? Is it a horror movie? Are you supposed to be sad because his kid's dad died? Like, nobody... I don't know, man. This is a weird one. Watch this movie. If you have seen this movie, tell me what you think, please. I don't want to feel alone in this. Let me know. Do you have a spot in your heart for this like I do? Or do you hate this? Do you think this is the dumbest thing you've seen? Because honestly, I can't blame you for either. I want to say there's something endearing about this movie, but there's really not. And the box art is way cooler than it deserves to be. So there's that as well. So yeah, let me know. Let me know if you're familiar with the Making Contact or Joey saga. Let me know if you've seen this, and who is your favorite character? Did you love the robot? I don't know why it became alive because the boy is psychic, so that's odd. Maybe we'll have to wait for part 2. Give this a like too. We can pop this in the algorithm, so if anyone should ever be searching for Making Contact on YouTube for some reason, this will get popped in that algorithm. And subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. I swear, more of these that I do, most of these are more coherent. It's just this movie, I promise. So anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time.